While David Cameron was reshuffling his ministerial pack yesterday, Jean-Claude Juncker was confirmed as the new president, or king, of the European Commission. David Cameron thinks his ace in Europe is this man, the relatively unknown Jonathan Hill. He is currently the Conservative leader in the House of Lords. Now, no more. And now the PM's nominee for European Commissioner. But will Mr Juncker see him as an ace or a joker? He'll be doing the job as Mr Cameron tries to renegotiate Britain's membership of the European Union ahead of the proposed in-out referendum in 2017. A referendum in which the new Foreign Secretary, Jack of all trades, Philip Hammond, has said he could contemplate voting to leave. And the European Court of Human Rights could also be in the firing line as the departure of Dominic Grieve as Attorney-General is seen as clearing the way for a tougher stance on the Human Rights Court from the Conservatives.
Thanks, Joko. Joining us now is UKIP's Deputy Leader, Paul Nuttall. He's in the entertainment capital of Europe, known as Strasbourg. And we've still got it. You can see he's enjoying himself there. It's the sort of Las Vegas of the German-Franco border. Is this the most Eurosceptic cabinet we've ever had, Ken Clark?
No, it's not. I mean, I commented yesterday, the madness of interpreting everything as whether things are more Eurosceptic or less. I'm the most outspoken pro-European who's left the cabinet, but I'm not the only pro-European in the cabinet by a good long way. And nor is anybody. Who's left? There's nobody in the cabinet who's just wants us to leave the European Union. But, no, I'm not going to. The others can speak for themselves. I was in the position as the elder statesman of being slightly more outspoken than some of my colleagues.
Well, what cabinet would have been more Eurosceptic than this one?
Trying to think, obviously pre-Harold Macmillan, but...
Even you were in short trousers then.
I heard Harold Macmillan announce our intention to join the European community. The Conservatives were the party of Europe for most of the time, including
remember that.
Thatcher.
What went wrong?
But let's not go back. Let's go to this shadow. What's gone wrong? I don't know, really. It was a reaction to the fall of Margaret Thatcher, and it was Conrad Black buying the Daily Telegraph.
Paul Nuttall, although Mr Clark finds it quite hard to admit it, this is the most Eurosceptic cabinet that has ever governed this country, certainly on the Tory part of it. I mean, and it's been put together to dish you. This is an anti-UKIP cabinet, isn't it?
Well, once again, the Conservatives are trying to play catch-up. Cameron's had 4 years to do something about the European Union. He only offered a referendum from a position of weakness because of the strength of UKIP. But look, Cameron will remain the Prime Minister, and he is a committed Europhile. Although he said he will go into that referendum, into the renegotiation, he's already said then he will campaign to stay within the European Union. So negotiations are pie in the sky. And I listened yesterday to Jean-Claude Juncker in the chamber when he said quite clearly the biggest issue for Britain, where we do want to renegotiate, is freedom of movement of peoples, and that isn't on the table. So the whole thing is pie in the sky. And as the great Sean Connery once said in The Untouchables, you know, you don't go to a gunfight carrying a knife, and that's what Mr Cameron is doing.
I'll have to think about that, but never mind. Is Mr Cameron a Europhile?
I think he and the Cabinet will recommend a yes vote, and they propose, meanwhile, to try and negotiate.
Is he a Europhile?
He's not as pro-European as me, but tonight...
Claude Juncker isn't as pro-European.
I have to be careful. If I describe David Cameron as a pro-European, he probably would think he doesn't particularly want the endorsement.
No,
I'm the wrong person to give it. The idea that David Cameron is a sort of isolationist nationalist, which is what the Euroscepticism is sometimes a euphemism for, is nonsense.
Doesn't Labour have to re-burnish its European offering? I mean, you're not in tune with the British people on this.
I am a strongly pro-European politician because I think it's in our national interest. I think our jobs and investment depend on it, and I think it's vital for a whole range of other issues that are really important for the country.
I didn't ask about David Cameron with respect. I did ask about Labour. And what I'm saying is that Labour's policy does not seem to be in tune with the British people. Every time Mr Cameron, every time you criticise him, whether it was the veto a couple of years ago or the latest one being out on a limb over Juncker, his poll ratings rise.
OK, but sometimes you have to argue what you believe in. Sure. And I believe that a reformed Europe that is turbocharging jobs and growth with proper reform of the
What makes you think you'll ever get that?
Well, because I believe that the way that you can, I believe there are countries that you can build alliances with who want to see...
Did you listen to Mr Juncker yesterday?
Want to see, but it's actually, in the end, when we were in government, the way that we got change was actually by building alliances, often across, you know, political parties with leaders from different persuasions, about how Europe needs to change. And the problem I have to talk about, David Cameron, is that if your approach is about repatriating powers alone rather than the bigger prize, which is a reformed Europe, that's a mistake.
You could be collecting your pension by the time that happens.
No, I don't believe. Why are you so pessimistic
because
about change?
Because I have heard people tell me, like you or like Ken, again and again, that, for example, we will change the common agricultural policy. We'll have a fundamental change over it,
I think
and it never happened. Well, what do you make of all that?
Well, look, I mean, repatriation of powers is not on the table. Mr Juncker made that perfectly clear. What he said is that he's not opposed to it, but it would require the support of 27 other member states. So it just isn't going to happen. And the way that this guy was appointed yesterday, backroom deals, behind closed doors, this is the Europe of the future. And Mr Juncker, I'm afraid, is the epitome of it. This isn't going to change this place, it's just going to roll on. They haven't learned their lessons from the European elections, and all they've done is they've pushed us closer to the exit door, which is a good thing.
Why are you taking a dive in the polls?
We're not. You've got one ICM poll there, and ICM consistently gets us wrong. I mean, they had us on 16% just before the European elections. We got 28%.
You're now down to 9%.
Yeah, in one ICM poll. If it was Salvation or Comrades or Opinion, I would worry. It's ICM. I'm not bothered.
You're not bothered? Oh, all right.
Not with ICM, no.
Why make... I know he used to be your special advisor, but this chap, Jonathan Hill, that no one seems to have heard of, why put a total unknown as the British Commissioner candidate and at the same time expect to be given a major job, a major economic portfolio? Surely this makes it a lot less likely.
No, the European commissioners are not all high-profile national politicians. Jonathan has actually been at the heart of British politics for a long time. Sometimes.
I mean, Moscovici from France has just got is getting a big job.
Cathy Ashton.
Mandelson.
Never mind Landerson. Cathy, he didn't there for very long. Cathy Ashton has done a very good job, actually, as what's called the High Representative, the sort of foreign affairs leader in the Council. Now, if you'd heard of Cathy Ashton before she was sent there, I'd be very surprised indeed.
I want to go back to Liz Kendall and this thing that we could be on the brink of some massive European reform. Because we now have
I didn't say that, Andrew.
You did, actually. You said that we can refuse reform.
No, I said that's what our goal has got to be.
Yeah.
And I believe that there are chances to do it. I don't believe we're on the brink. We'd have to work very hard on it. And unfortunately, that won't happen with this government.
Let me ask you this quick question then. Because Mr Juncker, because we now have as a president of the European Commission someone who yesterday said that he regarded the euro as the thing, the mechanism that had saved the European Union, had been great for the European Union, and that that was the kind of Europe he wanted. Now, if that's the case, shall I tell you what youth unemployment is in Spain, Italy, and Greece?
Don't need to tell me.
It's not caused by the euro.
Oh, no, I'm not asking you. I'm asking Liz.
No, I know that there's horrific levels of unemployment.
So how will you ever get a coalition for change with attitudes like that?
Because actually, I think it is probably more about getting the leaders of the different countries who believe that Europe needs to reform to get agreement.
Juncker was right about one thing yesterday. You cannot change the free movement of people's provisions of the European Union.
No, nobody's proposing we do.
Excuse me, your party is...
No, you've got a UKIP guy who immediately breaks it back to immigration. I mean,
but your party is proposing it.
If you wish to say the whole argument is about bigotry and prejudice, fair enough.
Paul Nuttall, I'm going to give you the final word because you have the most difficult gig this morning, being down the line.
I know.
Get us back on immigration. Come on.
I just need to take Ken up.
Hold on, let him speak.
It's bigoted to be concerned about immigration. Well, you go onto any council estate in the north of England, or indeed in places like Essex, and say that when we've got 1 million of our own kids unemployed, what we need to do is to control our own control our own borders, have a point-based system for everyone where we can choose who comes and who doesn't into our country. While we have freedom of movement of peoples, that is not possible.
All right, we'll have to leave it here with cries of nonsense from Ken Clark, which you won't be surprised